Hi everybody, this is Luke T, and this is Proteins Part 2. I know we've been talking a lot about how proteins fold, so that's really important, and we probably know more about protein folding than a lot of other things, so I'm going to go explain it just a little bit more. So what I've drawn here is kind of a schematic, and I didn't feel like flipping this around because I'm tired and I'm grumpy. And so what you have, I highlighted some really important parts of this amino acid. So you've got the C, C, N backbone, which we've seen, the H, the C double bond O, and of course I'm missing the OH, which would become the O minus in water. And honestly, you're just not worth me drawing it. And that blue thing took a while to draw, and it's ugly. But right. So anyway, it's important to know that this thing flips around a bit. So let's look here. Here are R group. Can anybody identify it? Can anybody tell what the R group is? Okay, so it's this thing. It's the carbon, 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 oxygen, and nitrogen. The way I can tell is because I look for my CCN pattern. And it's a little difficult to see here. Stop. All right. But that's not what I wanted to do. All right, so here's my pattern. C, C, N. Okay, so that's the pattern you have to look for, and then there's the R group. Now, back to this. The reason I wanted you to see that is because this R group that I'm showing down here can actually flip up top. So it's not necessarily always on the bottom like that. Okay, so now I can put a bunch of those together. I can put a bunch of those together in a process called dehydration synthesis. Hey, Jackson. And then I have a chain of them. And you can't really tell right now how it's going to fold. You've only got 3 of them, but you have an order, right? So you've got this first one, the second one, and this third one. And if I were just to be complicated, I would call that primary structure because I want to sound really smart and I can't just say order. But then you would also start to see a little more complicated pattern of pluses and minuses. Here you just see we've got more of them kind of formed in this chain. Then we got, if you put more of them together in more dehydration type synthesis type things, then you could actually have one fold in on itself and then have this hydrogen, which is positive, be attracted to this negative, and then you could get a structure that looks like this, or the beginning of that at least. Whoa. Okay. Or we could get a structure like this where you have 2 lines that are kind of anti-parallel to each other. And if I did enough of those, I would basically generate a sheet. So you would look, look like that. And again, these are not the most beautiful drawings in the world, but they should help get to the point. Although it wouldn't hurt if you complimented the drawings once in a while, because I do work hard on them. Okay. I'm a little tired. Alright, so what we haven't considered yet is what the properties of this thing are. So we looked at just the backbone, the CCN and the H's. And we didn't consider what these R groups are charged at all. So we haven't even considered how these would contribute to the folding. So basically this helix and this sheet can be achieved just by attractions, or mainly by attractions with the backbone in itself. That's not, I don't believe that entirely to be true. I believe the R groups do play a role in that, and it's a little more complicated than people are making it sound, but you're going to hear that over and over again. And you just need to know basically that there's hydrogen bonding between this and this that is going to produce these 2 shapes, the helix and the sheet. And I don't know why, but we're back here. Let's just start it for fun. Yay. Alright, so like I said, we haven't even considered what the R groups are really doing to the shape of this thing. So I could have all kinds of different R groups. I could have them be, negative, negative, and then I might have one that has one negative side and one positive side, or partially negative side and one partially positive side. Or I could even have one that's hydrophobic. But like I said, the R groups are generally going to fall into a couple categories. They're going to be acids, so they're going to be minuses. They're going to be bases, so they're going to be plus, or they're going to be partially plus, partially minus, hydrophobic, or they're going to be one of the weird ones like the cysteine. And so just looking at this structure here, this is villain and it's going to fold. You're going to notice that this secondary structure, the helix, is really stable and it forms pretty quickly. There you go. But still, I don't think primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary really refer to the order in which they fold. But basically, based on these images, this protein could fold in pretty complicated ways, and it could generate these big proteins that we've seen before in kind of like this video. So let's look at what's protein in this video. Yeah, protein, 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 black screen, protein, 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 protein. Are you going to ask, is everything in the cell protein? No, but a lot of it is. Of course, this is a protein, and the thing that's going to fly into it is also a protein. Okay, so we call that structure, the ones we just saw, tertiary structures. When you have two proteins that come together to form one kind of structure, you call it quaternary. Now, this is not what happened here, because these guys don't really function together. One binds to the other, and then this one gets activated. In this scenario, they actually work together. So why do you care about any of this? Why does any of this make any difference whatsoever? Well, it's huge for drug design. So this, for example, is actually something brand new that just happened, and this is the opioid receptor. And its structure was just figured out. So they just figured out where the pluses and the minuses are on the surface of this thing. So if you can just imagine where pluses, that each of these little bumps are pluses and minuses, and they all line up, like if that was a plus, that would be a minus, that you could actually find a drug that would bind to this morphine receptor. And if you could, it would be like one of the most potent drugs. It would be like, heroin times 3, not 4, maybe 3. Or why another reason it's important is because of situations like this. So I just put in 1 TUP into first glance, and now I'm waiting for the Pingree internet to catch up with us. In the meantime, I thought I would tell a story. I don't have any stories. Jackson, you got any stories?
No, it was a boring day.
No, boring day today, sorry. I maybe should have loaded this before. Go. And go. And go. Okay. Let's see, can I talk about anything else? You want to just watch this for a minute? This is more interesting than what we were watching. Should we review this maybe? Okay, let's do this one more time. So the order of these things is primary structure. These structures, the helix and the sheet, are secondary structures. However, it folds finally into one of these guys, or one of these guys, or one of these guys, that is going to be tertiary. So just this is tertiary structure. And then if two proteins that are not linked come together, then we call them quaternary. Now, most of these linkages are going to be actually hydrogen bonding or plus-minus attractions, but you can form covalent bonds across them, and that is the sulfhydryl group. Just make sure you remember that, because if I ask, or somebody asks, what bond won't be broken, or if a protein is attached to another one by cysteines or covalently bonded, which one wouldn't break in heat? So you know that from your experiment that you just did, if you heat up the water, you don't actually break apart the bonds. But if you take dry heat and you heat it up to like 500 degrees, then you get the caramel, and then those bonds break, and then you burn it. Really, this is, wow, really slow. I really want to show you this though, because I want to show you how really crazy diseases can be generated by just very, very simple charge separations. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to do the demo that I wanted to do, but if you look at this, what you can see here is DNA. And you should know something about DNA. What were you supposed to know about DNA?
It's double helix.
Double helix.
Sometimes a single. Oh, phosphate
RNA.
groups.
Phosphate groups are charged what?
It's not
Oh,
necessarily
what? They're
double
negatively charged.
Okay, great. So the whole backbone of this thing is negatively charged. And this protein here is responsible actually for checking that DNA, or actually it's involved in checking that DNA. And one of the ways it does is by coming close to this DNA. So this amino acid right here is positively charged. And in about 50% of cancers, there's actually a mutation in that specific amino acid. So the code for that amino acid that says this amino acid should be positive, and that allows it to bind to DNA, is switched. And then that amino acid can be negative. And if that amino acid is negative, instead of attracting to the DNA, this protein will repel the DNA at that point. And guess what? Your ability to check DNA for damage or to fix it is severely impaired. I hope that's something more clear and more concrete than what I've been showing you in the past. And I hope this clears up primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary structure. To all of you out there, have a wonderful day. Guys, say bye.
That's actually 248.